Hello and welcome to the Screen Stoop podcast. I'm MJ.
I'm Shelby.
This week we saw the Super Mario Brothers movie.
Let's go.
The Super Mario Brothers movie was fantastic.
Yeah, it was super entertaining, fun to watch, very nostalgic. They did a lot of great things with this one.
It was a barrage of Easter eggs, just all throughout.
Yeah, all kinds of Easter eggs too, from like past Nintendo games to present Nintendo games
To future.
to the future.
Not future. But there was so many that like you can't even find all of them. You're going to need some sort of New Rockstars video or something to pick them all out with a fine-tooth comb. So let's just go through the characters. We have Mario, voiced by Chris Pratt. I thought that everyone needed to not worry because he did amazing. At no point in the movie, oh, that's just Chris Pratt talking. However, I did do that with a different character.
Yeah, Chris Pratt did a great job. I didn't even recognize his voice like the entire time. I knew it was him only because I read,
I wouldn't have known,
articles.
really.
Yeah. If I didn't know that he was being Mario, I would have had no idea that he voiced him. But there were characters like Donkey Kong who
Took me out of the moment sometimes.
Yeah, Donkey Kong is probably my favorite characters. When I heard Seth Rogen's voice, I was like, I guess I can deal with this. But the second he laughed, I was done. I was like, this is just ridiculous. It's not Donkey Kong at all. It's not at all how I pictured him to be. I pictured his voice to be more of like a high school showboat jock type guy, not some stoner.
Thank you for that Donkey Kong tangent. So we have Mario, good job, well done, Chris Pratt. Then we have Luigi, who was Charlie Day. I thought perfect casting. My favorite casting besides Bowser of the whole group. Having anxious, very quick talking Charlie Day. You can hear fear in his voice no matter what he's doing.
He did a great job as Luigi.
Yes, because I like Charlie Day so much that I'm like picturing him. Luigi is my favorite character of all of the Super Mario Brothers. I almost always pick Luigi. I always thought he was, from the time that I was a little kid, because I thought, oh, he's the better looking brother. So I'm going to pick the better looking brother.
He's taller.
He's taller and slimmer. Mario's a bit pudgy. However, me having that prejudice against Mario, the movie did a really great job of making me believe that Mario earned his spot as the central hero, because you could think, oh, well, he's the short, fat one. Usually the short, fat character is the side character, the best friend, the sidekick. Just the dynamic between the two, Mario was very sure of himself, and there's so many other things in the intro. But so I loved Mario and Luigi.
I agree.
Bowser was the best casting.
They did a great job. Jack Black is probably one of our best voice actors of today, I would say. I didn't hear Jack Black in Bowser's voice until he sung. And that was the only time I actually heard it, but that's because Jack Black has an iconic singing voice. Because it's a little goofy and comedic. But for like the plain talking voice of Bowser, I was like listening for it, and I was like, I'm not hearing Jack Black. It's not like Kung Fu Panda where all you hear is Jack Black.
That is what I was watching out for, is it Po from Kung Fu Panda? You can just tell, it's just Jack Black as Kung Fu Panda. Like he that's just him. But you're right, he did alter the cadence. He had a lot more gruffness.
Yeah, and I think, it makes sense. You think about it. Po is a good guy. He's a Kung Fu Panda, right? He's the savior of that
and
movie.
He is like the loser, he has a hero's journey. So he starts out being I'm good for nothing and I'm a nobody and I'll never make it, the underdog character.
Yeah, and then Bowser is the evil guy. So it makes sense for him to do like a gruff, like dark, monstrous voice, and in doing so he completely covers his original, like his own voice.
Yes, because the villain needs to come out being strong and then they finish being kicked down, and then the hero needs to start out lesser, underdog or underestimated, whatever, and then they need to end up on top. So It would not make sense if you had, I'm just Bowser and I sell noodles and fall downstairs. Anya Taylor-Joy as Peach, it was a little jarring. I don't know if Anya Taylor-Joy has done any other voice acting, but it was not my favorite. It felt like everyone's voices, if you're just talking about the first few characters, Toad and Mario and Luigi and Bowser, even that Penguin King guy, the Koopas and the Koopa Wizard.
The Penguin King had such a deep voice, it threw me off.
Oh, I loved it. I loved the
I wasn't
contrast.
expecting it.
I loved the contrast between the penguin cuteness and the penguin voice. And he's confident. And he's like, and he's invested. And he thinks like, oh, we are winning.
Yeah,
like
he was absolutely pumped. That was but a taste of our power.
Yes.
Surrender now.
Yeah. Like he said something about fury, but I loved the penguin. And then I also loved like the contrast that you have between Lumi and his like happy-go-lucky, I'm blowing bubbles and doing flips. And then what he says, being he or she, I don't know what gender Lumi is, flipping and being like, oh, misery, everything is bad. And it's so cool. So contrast is always great. Peach felt like she was not acting enough, or Anya Taylor-Joy was not acting enough to be embodying Peach. Sometimes Peach would say things and her body would be, her expressions, her eyes, her face, everything would be really intense. And then the voice would just come out pretty flat.
Yeah, and that could have been part of the issue too. We don't know if she's done any voice acting in any other movies. And if she has, it's still obvious that she's still kind of new to it. And then being in a cast of like super voice actors.
Like you said, Jack Black. I don't think Jack Black nailed it as Kung Fu Panda. I think he's just Jack Black in, an animated movie. But in this, I think you can say that he's a voice actor now because you couldn't tell that he was Jack Black.
Absolutely. I think Kung Fu Panda was probably one of his first animated films for voice acting anyways, because I think the first one was shortly after Tenacious D came out. So it's not, I think everyone starts somewhere and they get better. I'm sure Mark Hamill didn't come out being the Joker. He had to get good at it, And
oh, no. If you had young Mark Hamill as Luke Skywalker and you told that kid to go be the Joker, there would have been no chance.
Absolutely. I think the only person who could have done it is maybe Robin Williams, because from like...
No, we can't get into that. I'm cutting anything Robin Williams out. So, who was your favorite character?
Toad.
Okay, why did you like Toad?
I just think he was a good comedy relief. Even though it was just like comedy throughout the whole movie, it was still like his comedy kind of overpowered everyone else's, and the confidence that he had for being this short, weak little toad guy. It's like you said, the contrast. Like I like how like when Peach kicked the spear up and was ready to fight, he pulls out a frying pan. He's like ready to fight, just like he did last time. But the only thing he did last time was cook.
I loved so much of this. I think that I could easily say Mario. I could easily say Luigi. I could say Lumi. I could see Bowser. They were all excellent. Best element of this movie is the music, the score, and the sound effects.
I absolutely agree.
Every time, from the opening to the end, you were immersed in whatever world, and it was like the Nintendo game that you're playing. My favorite Mario game was Super Mario Brothers 3. I played it all the time. Every time you go to a different world, you've got the water soundtrack, or you have Bowser's Castle, or you have
the
just
underground sewer area.
Yes. They did a great job they had that music, and they did this in several other instances as well, but they had that music and then they would mix it in to make it sound like orchestral so that it fit the movie. It was a beautiful blend of this is what you heard in the game, and now we're going to add some sort of like big swelling to it so that it fits in this cinematic movie that you're watching in the theater. Because if they would have just pumped in a speaker version of my Game Boy SD, it would feel like nothing.
It wouldn't have blended in at all. You would have been able to tell the difference.
Yes. So the actual like world immersive music that you heard when you were in the Mushroom Kingdom or in Bowser's Castle or Donkey Kong's area, the jungle, really immersive. I thought that was wonderful. And then the sound effects that they had, sometimes Easter eggs, sometimes it was so fast that it's just like it hit like something nostalgia in your brain and you're like, oh wow, I've heard that noise before. When the Mario brothers are going down into like the sewer area, when you have all those pipes. And at first, when we went into the human world and they're just regular people, I thought, how are we getting back into Mario world? How are we getting back into the Nintendo area? And then as soon as they went under the sewer and we were seeing big pipes, I thought, oh, okay, here's how we're going to get into the Nintendo world. And you hear like really quietly as they're approaching the green tunnel or tube or whatever, pipe, you hear the pipe music and it's so low and subtle and kind of drawn out. And then as Luigi turns to see the green pipe, and it doesn't look green like stark green, it's kind of shadowed, and then the sound starts to get more defined and you can tell what that sound is going to be. I thought like, oh, I'm ready. Like because the way they did that, kind of the slow burn to get to that point, I was like, jump in. Yes, I'm ready.
No, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they did a really good job of kind of explaining where they were in the world by using the music that was given to them, basically, because the music already existed. They just utilized it in a new and
Orchestral.
orchestral way. They did a really good job with that. And then in introducing like modern day rock songs and stuff, they did a really good job of that too. And it didn't overshadow it like how we saw in like Justice League. Like they threw in these rock songs and they didn't really fit, or in Suicide Squad, it didn't really fit the moment. Yeah. In this, they did a really good job of having a good blend.
I could deal with, and I know it's like an epic song, but I could go without hearing "I Need a Hero" again in another song,
Every time.
In another movie.
Yeah, that's a common thing. It's starting to get annoying. Yeah, whenever the hero starts to like start training, that song comes on. It's just like, all right, we're gonna make a hero in this scene. Let's have that song.
And I love this. I love this song, but I could also go without hearing "Thunderstruck" in another movie.
I know. After Iron Man did it, they're like, all right, it's free game.
Everyone is doing it.
Yeah.
And I loved it. I love that moment. Okay, so let's start from the beginning, okay? Because we covered the characters and we covered the music. I think those were the best elements of the movie. It looked great, obviously, but let's just go from start to finish. So we open up with Bowser and his big cloud of lava and rock.
His little floating rock ship.
Yes, it comes into view and it's overshadowing a ice castle kingdom, and it lands. You see tons of Koopas come out, and I loved it right away from the jump because you've got regular Koopas, you've got the flying Koopas, you had the Koopa Wizard. It already so much from the video games.
Yeah, immediately they introduce a ton of like the video game villains and characters without like a story. It's just like showing us here they are. Like you should know who these people are already. Now let's get into the movie.
Yes, I love that. We jump right into the action. Bowser comes out. He is mighty and imposing, and they open up the ice gates, and it's a ton of little penguins, and this was already in the teaser trailer, so I kind of already knew what it was, but I was happy that that was our first scene, because now nothing else is spoiled for me. I don't need to wait in the middle of the movie for a scene that I've already watched to happen. It's already out of the way. So everything moving forward from this point is going to be brand new information.
Yeah, I really like that as well. They don't waste any time. They're like, all right, this is a small part you've seen. Now let's move on with it. It's a lot better than what people do, which is spoil parts of the movie where the trailers are too long. Also, when people make trailers and have scenes in it that have been deleted, because at the same time, sometimes those deleted scenes in the trailers are so well, and you're like, oh, I'm so excited to see this in the movie, and then it never shows up, and you're just left disappointed.
Yes. That's true. So I liked that the Penguins lost because obviously they were so outmatched. And I liked that the Penguins continued to be featured throughout the movie in Bowser's like prison, the cages, because it wasn't just, oh, he massacred those people and he took over their kingdom and now they're gone. There was a little bit more purpose and meaning to them. I hate it when just insignificant people are killed off and you never have any resolution or you never see their families or anything. Thought that was great. They remain in the movie. They have lines all throughout the movie. Thought that was good.
Yeah, me too. They did a really good job of that.
I also liked that it gave you a little insight into the relationship between Bowser and the wizard guy.
Oh yeah, they're like little. It's like a friend but not friend system. It's like master and servant, but also like I don't know, like a therapist maybe.
Yes, I just kind of liked how they worked seamlessly in getting Bowser what he wanted. So you have the first scene, and the wizard is helping Bowser. Like, he's like freezing people. He like pulls the little penguins out of the way. He doesn't need a command. All those other Koopas, they needed a command. But this wizard guy, he has at least the freedom to take matters into his own hands whenever he sees fit. He also uses his little wand to raise pieces of brick or stone or ice so that Bowser can walk up these created stairs from his magic to get the star. And I just kind of like that because it is more villainous to me when they have such a helpful sidekick and they still treat them bad. Like when you have a very competent sidekick that does so much for their master and the master is still like abusive, I think that adds more villainy to a villainous character.
Absolutely.
So then we open up on the cutest introduction scene with Mario and Luigi and their plumbing commercial. It was excellent.
Yeah, they opened it up with the iconic Mario Bros. Song that they did from the show back in the day that I have never actually personally seen. I've seen the music for it because I remember they had it on like a streaming service and I was like, oh, I think I'll watch it. And then I saw that and I was like, yeah, I'm not watching this.
I really liked how they immediately told you, yes, we've got the what would you call it? Forced, stereotypical Mario and Luigi voices for the commercial. And then they turn around and they're like, oh, was that too much? And they're talking much differently. So it's telling you they're not going to be the caricatures of themselves through this movie. When you're playing the game, that's the game. And that's like what they're kind of acting or their front that they put on. And then now they're real people. So come back. Don't expect them to sound like it's a Mario when they're like just talking.
They did still keep that in certain moments of the movie where like Mario got excited or super happy or scared. They did have those little segments like the Mamma Mia and stuff like that, and they did that really well in my opinion. But
it wasn't the original Mario guy that did it in those moments. No. It was Chris Pratt.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you could tell that there was a little bit of a difference. It was a little bit deeper, but then after the commercial, they pan over to a man who is dressed as the OG Mario, like the very, very heavily pixelated Mario with the checkered shirt and the tie, and he's playing the original Mario game, and he turns around and he sounds exactly like caricature Mario, because it is caricature Mario. The actor is actually the actor for Mario.
Yeah, and the original Mario game it's called Donkey Kong. It's the original Donkey Kong game with Donkey Kong at the top, who I just found out is actually Cranky Kong in his youth, throwing barrels down at Mario before he was Mario, trying to keep him from rescuing Peach before she was Peach.
Wow.
So
such an Easter egg. I don't know about any Easter eggs with their generic bad guy. Something?
Yeah, I did. So, Spike is a character from the Super Mario Bros. Lore. He showed up in the first game called Wrecking Crew in 1985.
Okay.
So he is their foreman that they worked for, and so it says that he is their like number one enemy, and he would go so far out of his way even to work with Bowser to destroy Mario and Luigi.
Okay, so I stand corrected. They did a much better job than I thought. Keep Spike. Good job. I am wrong. And now I can watch it thinking, great, they did a good job. And maybe we can save Wario and Waluigi for a different movie, just like Yoshi.
Yeah. And, I think that character alone and that kind of surprise there, because we didn't know who he was, shows that in this movie at least, when something shows up that we don't know, it's probably an Easter egg to something from the 80s or the 90s.
What care and pride the creators took in making this. Because I did not feel any self-inserts, any own agenda. This movie was, if you love Mario, we're going to give you a love letter to Mario. We're going to give you an adventure. You're going to go into the video game, and we're going to do as best as we can of an adventure comedy in the video game world.
Yeah, I think I don't think you could have said any better. It was definitely like a love letter to Mario, the Super Mario Bros. And
not just like Super Mario Bros., not just one iteration of it, not just the 90s cartoon.
No, the whole Nintendo universe.
Yes.
Yeah, they did a great job of honoring each character and kind of like holding it tight to their heart and caring for them in certain ways.
I couldn't put my finger on it. So Luigi's phone rings, and it rang, and I got happy. And I was like, why am I happy? And then you said what?
It was the GameCube intro. So when you turn on the GameCube and the cube bounces around,
yeah,
it's exactly what it was. It was the GameCube intro.
And that is, I could have cried. I don't know why. Just nostalgia hit me, because GameCube was the first thing that I ever played on a television, and it was like, and I didn't even get to, because my older boy cousins got to do it, and all I got to do was watch. But there's so many fun memories of playing the original Super Smash Brothers and the original Mario and stuff. Not the original that was on 64, but whatever was on GameCube, because I grew up in the 90s, so everyone already had a GameCube.
Yeah, no, they did. You don't get game consoles that do that anymore. Back in the early 2000s with the PlayStation 1, the Xbox, and the GameCube, they had, the second you turn on the console, it was like an intro to grab your attention, to pull you in. Yeah. It's just like, instead of walking away, you had nothing to do. You wanted to sit there and listen to it turn on.
It was the same thing with the Game Boy. Like, you would turn it on, and if your cartridge was kind of messed up, the Nintendo logo at the bottom would be grayed out or messed up, so you'd have to blow in your cartridge. And then if you didn't have a game, there would be no Nintendo words under the Game Boy logo. And it's just so funny, because I don't know how that was intentional, but it was such a helpful signal to, is this game gonna start up right in my Game Boy?
Yeah, no, they did a great job.
But the Game Boys was just dinny, it was just kind of, we're on. But the GameCube one was the first really cute,
it took you on a journey when it was
it was we're gonna make the whole box, and the little thing's gonna flip, and then it's gonna boom, bounce in the middle. Yeah. I love it. I could cry right now. I don't know why. I love GameCube so much.
They did a great job.
The GameCube ringtone, thought such a nice touch, and that kind of hinted to me that there's so much in this movie that was quick and subtle that I probably missed, and that it's going to be several watches before everything hits.
Oh yeah, this movie is full of Easter eggs that the ones I caught, I know aren't all of them, and I know I missed way over half of them.
And I hope that in sequels, they are able to interact a little bit more with some things that were just Easter eggs. And I wanted to go chronological, but we're getting off topic. Like when Mario picks up a coin, when Donkey Kong pulls a squid off of his face, when Mario pulls a goldfish off of his face, when the goldfish was in the bag. Those were great Easter eggs, but also I hope that in the future we get to see a purpose to those things.
Oh yeah, like when they had the Easter egg with like Diddy Kong and his girlfriend Dixie
Oh,
Kong.
that was a letdown.
And they have.
And Yoshi's running in the back was also a letdown. It's like, yay, Yoshi's! No, bye.
No, they were gone immediately. Yeah, I'm hoping. I mean, they still have the full cast of the Donkey Kong 64 that they can use, whether it be in another like a sequel Mario game or a Donkey Kong standalone game. There's like 8 characters alone right there.
Movie or game?
Or in the movie, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry.
Because I care about a movie.
Yeah. But they have a lot of characters they can use that they also use in Easter eggs that they can interact with in a future sequel.
My favorite. So the next scene is my favorite part. They're about to go to their first plumbing job, and I liked that it's a new business and they're really nervous to start out. The car doesn't work, and Mario says, "Come on, let's go," and like get out of the car. And this is my favorite part of the movie because it is a perfect way to blend. And it was a letdown that they didn't do this further in the movie, but it was a perfect blend of we are showing you a 3D moment, but it looks like a platformer with the Mario needed to do a ton of different jumping things to get over a fence. He opens up the fence for his brother. They go under, they go over, they jump, they climb. It was such a good, and it got me really excited because I thought, wonderful, this is how they're going to do it for the entire rest of the movie. This is how they're going to blend Super Mario, which is a platform game, and they're going to take it and make it interesting and have a purpose to where they're going without just being, oh, we're going to get to the flag at the end. And when he hits the flagpole at the end, or whatever it was, of course it's a flagpole in the game, and he kind of spins down, oh, my heart just like jumped. And it was very disappointing that they didn't do that almost at all for the rest of the movie.
Yeah, it was definitely a huge Easter egg moment and kind of like like you said, like a good blend to do it. But I agree. I wish they would have done it better. Like when he was battling Donkey Kong, if they wanted to zoom out and do like a Super Smash Bros. Style, like jumping around and fighting, that would have been really cool to watch.
That's what I thought we were going to get because they had all of those different levels with the brick and the question mark blocks and everything.
Yeah, and that's the thing about this movie is that it's not going to be just a huge Easter egg to Super Mario Bros. It's a Easter egg to the entire Nintendo universe. So you're getting Easter eggs like the fight with Donkey Kong. That's the Super Smash Bros. On Rainbow Road when they're going to try and save Luigi and they're going to fight Bowser on Rainbow Road. That is Mario Kart, and then you have Super Mario Bros. At the beginning of the movie with the platform jumping. There's Easter.
So you're saying that I should change my perspective, that I need to not expect the entire movie or more of the movie to be a platformer.
I think so, yeah, because I get where you're coming from. In the beginning of the movie, and the movie is called Super Mario Bros., you're expecting it to be an homage to Super Mario Bros. It ends up being an homage to their entire life through our years growing up as kids to adults now with Super Mario Bros., Smash Bros., the Luigi's Haunted Mansion, Mario Kart and stuff. So it's...
And you had Baby Mario. You had Baby Mario, Baby Luigi, and Baby Peach.
Yeah, and
they looked identical to their characters.
Yeah, they did have Baby Peach. Yeah, and those flashbacks didn't need to happen, but at the same time, they weren't senseless. They still worked with the story and the narrative that they had, and they still found a way to introduce that Easter egg, which was super cool.
Yes.
So
I could have done without the plumbing thing and the crazy dog. That felt a little bit more Illumination, DreamWorks, Minions to me, Secret Life of Pets than the rest of the movie felt. I don't know why we needed a dog that kind of attacks the two brothers. I think we could have done something else there.
Well, like you said, it was definitely an Illumination thing, and Nintendo partnered with Illumination when they made the film. So obviously, you're gonna have that Illumination feel. It is really surprising that you don't feel that the rest of the movie.
Yeah, you don't really.
So maybe it's because they were in Brooklyn and they're in the human world, so they wanted to put it in there because they were able to make it fit. It didn't stand out like, oh, this doesn't fit, right? It just was not what I was expecting, but it fit in that world at the time. If they did something like that in the Nintendo world, it wasn't going to fit at all.
I just personally, now this segment that we're doing is a little long, but to me it was a little long and I could have gone without it. Yeah. So then we have the family dinner. first job doesn't go well. We're going to family dinner. I loved the family. I loved how you could watch this over again and look at a different character and they're doing something else. I think that's what's really great about animation is that because you usually are watching this with children, they're going to want to watch it over and over and over again because that's what kids do. I liked the little irony of Mario doesn't like mushrooms. I liked how you saw Luigi kind of get pushed over because the whole point of the scene is to show that Mario's dad doesn't believe in him. However, I think that it's kind of lost that Luigi is not thought of at all. And that can sometimes be even worse because Mario, it's like his whole family has expectations of him. And his dad says, you're bringing your brother down with you. But would you guys think of Luigi any other way? Because Luigi's literally getting crushed in this family dynamic. Like he's getting kind of, what would you call it? Like smashed in between that other sibling or whoever as they're getting made fun of. So I like that you see how both brothers are treated differently.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it kind of shows the growth that they have with each other. They obviously had to become really close as brothers in that family to survive. And it shows why Mario cares so much for Luigi because he is stepped on all the time. So his dad says he's bringing him down with him, but Mario's just trying to take Luigi up with him, not bring him down. He wants him to have greatness like he wants greatness.
Then we have Mario gets upset and leaves the table. Super meta. He's playing a video game.
Playing Pit, and it was on the SNES.
Yes,
so.
a Nintendo property in the movie, or within. And there was something else about his bedroom. Oh, yes. His bedroom, Mario's bedroom, has a Mario sticker, like a modern Mario cartoon sticker in his bedroom, like on a wall or something like that. You see it in the last scene, and that's what I was thinking of. And that's like meta because you don't even look like that. How is that in your room?
Yeah, that's oh yeah, I know. I'm remembering it now.
Like very last scene.
Yeah, I want to look it up.
And sorry, I'm cutting you off. In the very last scene, Mario and Luigi are drinking out of Mario and Luigi cups that like you can literally buy at Hot Topic or Box Lunch.
Yeah, that's exactly what I thought. I was like, oh, I could get one of those cups.
You already could have. People probably saw that and they already had those cups at home already.
I want to look it up, but I think because within Mario's bedroom, he has posters as well, and I think those posters are actual Nintendo games as well.
So Mario then turns on the news. Luigi comes in. They're talking, trying to bond, and news story says there is a big plumbing emergency. And Mario says, it's my time to shine. So they head out into Brooklyn, and Luigi has the same plumber pack. They go to the big explosion or whatever. Like, pipes are leaking, things are coming out of the manholes, and nothing's working. None of the union people are able to fix it. None of the city workers. So Mario and Luigi make a swirly type tunnel in the ground by lifting up a manhole. They dive down into it. Now we're in the underground pipe area that we already covered. I thought that was great.
Yeah, absolutely. They go down there. They show...
There was a reason, a purpose. Mario had a motivation. You could tell why they were there.
And it's obvious that he knew what to do because he immediately said we have to release the pressure valve. They got in the pipe to release the pressure valve, and then the pressure valve broke off. The pipes burst. They swing at a wall, and then that's when they start walking through. Mario's trying to figure out where they are. They go deeper into the tunnel, and then they end up by the green pipe that you were talking about. And that's where you...
As soon as they burst through the brickwork, I thought, okay, well, that's Super Mario. Like, you've got the brick on the side, brick on the bottom of the screen whenever you're playing. So when they burst through the brick, I thought, okay, here's our entry. And then you saw the pipes, and then you heard the music.
No.
Yeah. Oh, I loved it. I loved it so much. And the music, the sound effect also plays when they get sucked into the pipe. So Luigi gets sucked in first. Mario follows in after his brother.
Which I think this is, and you and I have talked about it before, about showing and not telling. And all the Mario games I've played, and I've played a lot of the older ones, not the new ones of today, but they don't tell you how those pipes work. You go in and you come out another pipe. The movie did a really good job of showing you how those pipes work without any explanation whatsoever. It's like a slipstream, kind of like the Finding Nemo slipstream.
Yeah.
Going from pipe to pipe, which leads you to a world or kingdom to kingdom. And it shows you exactly how they work without anyone ever explaining to you how they work. Once you enter that slipstream, it takes you to the...
It's a network because they end up getting separated.
Yeah, because they were spinning, he ends up getting sucked into another stream and ends up in Bowser's kingdom, and then Mario ends up in Peach's kingdom. And I thought that was just really nice because I was dreading any explanation in this movie whatsoever, and they did a really good job of doing a lot of showing.
There was no exposition besides Peach explaining where she came from. Everything else was told to you in either real time or a flashback that did not have any like explanation within it.
Yeah, and Peach's telling her where she came from, I felt was totally fine. It worked for the story because she's the only human in the Mushroom Kingdom. So it's just like, how did she get there? And yeah, so I think they did a good job with that.
So we've got the brothers are separated. They find each other. They say, as long as we're together, immediately they are separated.
Yeah,
I love that.
Nothing can hurt us. And then immediately separated.
Yes. When I saw what direction Luigi was going, I started jumping in my chair and squeezing your hand because I was ready for more than what we got, honestly. I was ready for Luigi's Mansion, especially because that plumber bag hint to Luigi's ghost vacuum, and he has his flashlight, and when he had his plumber supplies flung over his arm, I thought, oh, we're just gonna get a full-on Luigi going into haunted mansions. We're gonna get Luigi fighting everything. We didn't. I would love for movie number 2 or 3 or 4 to be a Luigi movie where you find him and maybe the end of this movie he gained his courage and that's what he's able to decide to do later. But the trees, everything that was drawn was so good.
They did have, at least to what it looked like to me when he entered that castle, it definitely was the interior of the haunted mansion. They had the big stair and the picture up at the top of the stairs.
Yes.
Like it was.
But what we're missing is the booze, and I don't know why we didn't have any ghosts at all. We had Shy Guys.
We got King Boo. I'm assuming.
Yes, we got a little sight of King Boo at the wedding.
Well, I mean, you're disappointed in that. Imagine my disappointment in the Kongs.
I mean, I'm also disappointed that we didn't get the Bark Bark.
Oh yeah. At all.
Yeah.
Oh. Maybe in the next one.
So Waluigi and Wario, Bark Bark.
Waluigi.
At first, I was going to say Bullet Bill, but then no, they had him at the end.
Yeah, well, they had it. Well, even in the beginning, they had an homage to Bullet Bill.
Yes.
Right. But Waluigi, I don't know if we'll actually get him because creators, I learned, I don't know where I heard this, but I heard it like this week. Waluigi is actually hated by the creators. They dislike him. He's actually only in one Mario game.
He's the best tennis player.
Yeah. They don't like him at all, so they try to refuse to put him in games. A lot of the times he gets put in games because the fans love him. So we may not ever get him in a movie unless fans demand it.
Interesting.
Yeah. It's just something I learned. I don't know why the creators loved Wario. They hated Waluigi. I have no idea why.
Waluigi is so much better looking, like not like attractiveness, but like, kind of imposing because he's really lanky and he has more of a sinister voice.
Yeah, he reminds me of he almost could be like a Rasputin or something. He's
yes.
Evil looking. Yeah.
So we've got Luigi and he makes it from the haunted forest. I thought this would have been a perfect opportunity to show, just pan the camera out a little bit and show Luigi like running up some stairs and running like down a hallway and then have ghosts be like in the corners and kind of creeping toward him and he's in the light just like in the game. I thought that would have been a great opportunity to do that and they missed it. There was nothing like that.
No, absolutely. Now that you say that, yeah, that would have been a definitely good moment.
That's one of my favorite things if I'm picturing any Nintendo game is Luigi like running scared in the dark and all you can see is the circle of light around him, but it's very shadowy and you know that the ghosts are creeping in and when you turn around the ghosts stop, and then when you're not facing them they follow you.
I wonder if they didn't do that because they did a lot of stuff with this movie, but it was obviously also still the first film. I'm hoping they make another one because they used it to introduce more Mario characters, which were the little guys in red robes, white faces. I don't know what
they're. Shy Guys.
Yeah, Shy Guys. So they introduced the Shy Guys for the first time in the film, and I'm wondering if that's the reason why they didn't do it, because they needed to introduce them.
So Mario goes into the Mushroom Kingdom. We meet Toad.
Yeah, Toad is so cool. He's so confident and so, just cool. Ready to take on the world, and he's just this short little thing.
Did you see who voiced Toad?
Uh-uh.
It is the guy from Key and Peele, but it's Key.
Yeah,
so
I didn't know he did a great job.
Didn't he do so good because you couldn't tell it was him?
I had no idea.
Especially like the shrieking
yeah,
you could tell a little bit when he got deep, but not when he was high.
And the fact that they had this 6'2" guy play this short.
I know it, and it worked so well. It was great.
So perfect.
So Toad is like, you're immediately my best friend. I'm immediately gonna help you. We don't even need to have any discussion. Let's go. And I love that because I want the movie to get going.
Yep. I loved how he was just he had such an upbeat attitude about everything. Even when he was like, "Come on, let's move. His brother's gonna die anytime," and he's like, "I'm just trying to get the crowd moving along. Let's keep going."
I know. He's like, "Don't worry. I'm not. I don't mean it." And it's like. The other time that I thought that they hinted toward the platformer style was when they were using the tubes to get up from kind of the common area to the castle, and it panned out. That's what I was hoping they would have done with Luigi's section. Just pan out a little bit, and we see a little more of the area that you're in.
Yeah. Maybe it was just because, if they panned out every 2 seconds, we never get through the film.
I know, because
it would feel like a movie. So.
Maybe.
They're trying to do a fine balance here of gaming and nostalgia and all that.
We meet Peach. I loved the council. The council is around a table, and the table has the worlds, and the worlds are what you see when you're playing Super Mario, and I loved that. Mario and Peach meet. I liked how Peach said, yes, Mario, you can come with me, but I got to make sure you won't die immediately or hinder my expedition. So he has to do a trial.
Yeah, and I enjoyed that trial. I feel like they spent the perfect amount of time on it, and it showed you that he had athletic ability in the beginning, right? But it was obviously not enough for this world.
Yep, he needed work.
Yeah, and so
Training montage.
yeah, a good training montage, long enough. That's where your favorite song comes in.
I didn't really need, no, my favorite song. I did not really need Peach to have been able to do it perfectly the first time. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, I get what you're saying. Yeah, the first time when she shows Mario, I can understand because it's her training course. I would imagine she practices it all the time. But to say that she did it the very first time she did it because she grew up there,
Yeah,
it kind of
said, yeah, I mean, I got good at it just like you.
Yeah.
Why'd you have to be perfect at it the first time?
Yeah, I don't get that. But it was just a small little thing. It was fine with me.
It didn't take me out of the movie, but it was unrealistic and unnecessary.
I feel like it was just another like strong character moment, but she's already such a strong character.
It just, yeah, like I said, wasn't necessary.
Yeah.
So they're going to go off. She tells everybody, Mario's coming with me. They're like, who's he? Well, it doesn't matter. We're going to keep going.
I love that joke. She was like, all right, we're going to go stop Bowser. And that one time was like, who's he? And she's like, he's not important.
Yeah, I like that too. Mostly because it's just we're moving right along. Let's get back to more action.
Yeah, they could have taken the time and explained to the Toads who Mario was and where he came from. But instead they're like, no, let's get this movie going because there's more important things. During that, Bowser is at a piano. So we got to rewind a second. So before that,
it's hard because they're jumping around in their world.
So in this first scene, it was supposed to take place after they conquered the Penguin Land, right? And there's like heavy metal and rock, and Bowser's tapping his foot, and it's all BA.
Oh, I loved that scene being crazy. They're throwing bombs, and the Goombas are like running into each other.
Yeah, it's just insane. It's
all of the bad guys
cool,
together.
And it's like a heavy metal moment, and then you have another Mario scene which bleeds into like the training segment and stuff, and then you go back, and this is when. You see Bowser at a piano now, and he starts playing the piano, and he has this...
Well, wait. First, from the heavy metal, like, just everyone acting crazy scene, and Bowser's on his throne, he, calls a meeting and tells everyone that his big plan is to marry Peach. And they're like, oh, what the heck?
Yeah.
Where'd that come from? I thought we were conquering.
Yeah, all the partying stops, and it just dies, and it gets dead silent, and everyone's like...
No, one little Koopa says... Yeah.
And then everyone's like, you're going to marry her?
Yeah, like this is what we've all been working for. And so then that gives anyone that doesn't understand the original Super Mario Bowser motivation, it gives them insight into what this is all about. It's capture the princess and Mario saves the princess. So usually Bowser leaves like a note, like he leaves letters to find her.
I did like that. That was a nice Easter egg too. When they first arrive, him and Toad arrive at the castle, and they're like, we're here to see the princess. And the guards are like, oh, the princess is at another castle. Yeah, you're going to want to check another castle. She's not here. Just like in the game when you beat the boss, you get into the castle, and they're like, oh, Peach isn't here. She's at another castle. And you go to the next castle. Nope, Peach isn't here. She's at another castle.
Yeah.
It was a nice little Easter egg. I like that.
So you find Bowser's motivation.
Yes.
And Bowser wants to marry Peach. That's why he got the star, and that's why he's been conquering worlds, because he thinks in his villainous, twisted mind that that's how he's going to win her. Just like in the end when he's like, I am sacrificing all of these people in your honor. It's just such a bad guy thing to say.
Yeah, it just doesn't understand.
That's the gift I am killing for you.
So, yeah.
So now it would make sense for your favorite part.
Yeah, well, one of my favorite parts. So now is when you see him sitting at a piano, and it's kind of dark, and he starts playing it, and he breaks out into like a rock ballad with the piano, and this is where Jack Black's voice really shines through because he does his
a ballad.
Yeah, ballad.
It's slow and it's melodic.
But he has his iconic Jack Black voice when he sings because it's the way Jack Black sings. It's super iconic. And then you get the Goomba wizard that comes in and tells him about Mario, and he's like, play with me. And then they play the iconic the iconic Bowser song on the piano, and then that's when Bowser slams the piano on his fingers.
Yes.
And my favorite line is when he's walking away and the Goomba wizard's like, can I lift the thing now? And Bowser's like, no, pain like makes you remember or whatever.
Like pain is a good teacher.
Yeah, it was so good. Another villain moment.
I know. I love that in this movie we finally got the villain is a villain. I don't need a sympathetic villain. I don't need a villain that has, a good heart. I want a villain that's bad so I can root for the good guys to kick his butt. And Bowser is not, so evil because it's a kids movie, but he's willing to capture all these people and then drown them in lava. So he's a pretty bad guy, and he treats the people around him like good but not great because he keeps abusing his little sidekick guy. Yep. And I loved it. I love every moment when Bowser is menacing. I love a menacing villain.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, after that scene, you have...
Luigi is found.
Yeah, Luigi's found and is brought to Bowser. And Bowser does a quick torture scene with him, which is really just...
It was... So,
pulling the mustache.
I just said how great Bowser was at being a menacing villain. I could have had a little bit more menacing of a mustache thing or a moment where he's getting the information out of Luigi.
Yeah, I can see that. But you got to remember that it's obvious to them, because a mustache is such a big part of their character, that by him pulling that mustache out, it was like, no, don't touch the mustache, and it hurts. You pull my beard and my stash sometimes when I have one, and it hurts, and I hate it. So I can imagine what he was going through. I was like, stop pulling it.
I just wish maybe he would have pulled a few more hairs before Luigi gave up his brother.
Yeah, but I mean, they've established that Luigi's a pretty big coward, and it gets better. He does,
and it was a part of his arc because he gives up his brother so easily. And then when he's just about to like die, because he sees the like castle as the thing is going forward, and he's in the cage, and like before the wedding, when he sees the castle down below, he remembers his childhood castle. That's where you see baby Luigi and baby Mario, and Mario stood up for him even when they were little babies. Yeah. And then he finally ends up standing up for Mario in the end. Yeah. I loved that because it does show a progression of growth.
Absolutely.
So next we've got Donkey Kong.
This was my favorite character introduction. I do not like the voice of Donkey Kong, but Donkey Kong is my favorite character in real life. And when they introduced him and had the Donkey Kong 64 intro song...
Wait, you're jumping ahead. I loved the Kong that was in the sport coat. Oh, and I loved how he opened the door, and I love how they commented on it, or Mario commented on it, because he's from the real world. Yeah. And then I loved the music when they got into the car. You've got a Mario Kart homage when they're going through the jungle, and you're on like the bamboo type road platforms. The last jump that's always in Mario Kart, whenever you're doing some sort of donkey level, you are like you go up a ramp and you either go over a waterfall or through a waterfall. You always use the hang glider when you're in those levels.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. I skipped all of that.
All that. And that was my favorite part of the whole Donkey Kong area.
Well, I think part of that is because after that, when they jump into the throne room of the Kongs, and that's where you meet the King Kong, who is supposed to be Cranky Kong, and he's not Cranky Kong.
Like, I have no reference.
So my reference is from the 64, and he doesn't look like that at all, but I'm going to let it go because this whole thing is like a huge kingdom, and he's supposed to be a king. But he's still old. He has a long beard. They kept that. But he's very cranky. You don't hear the voice, but the dialogue that is written in the game, he's very cranky and very pessimistic, and he calls his son stupid all the time.
He had that.
He does, but he does it in like a silly, goofy way.
You know what? I was too hard on the Luigi stuff. You're too hard on... I was too hard on the platformer stuff. You're too hard on this.
I understand why they did it, right? Because they can't have this guy who's supposed to be this other guy's dad calling him stupid and putting him down. It's a kid's movie. So yeah. I understand why they...
Also, though, kids need to learn a little bit of real life. You had the capacity to learn that when you were a kid and you were playing the video game. So yeah. I think little kids could have.
They could have. But still, it wasn't the Cranky Kong I remember, but... It was still a pretty good Cranky Kong. And that's when Peach asked him for the army, the Kong army, and he says, yeah, okay. And she's like, wait, really that easy? He's like, no, I'm not going to give you my army. I thought that was pretty good.
Yeah, because I thought it was a little ridiculous that all she offered was heart.
Yeah.
And herself. She's basically saying, hey, can you go to war with Bowser and I'll just tag along because I'm offering nothing except for me.
Yeah, me and my two companions here, a toad and a human.
Yes.
Yeah, Kong was like, no.
So... I loved how you made me think about how that was a Mario, like Smash Brothers Melee type of a scene. Because I was thinking, well, they tried to do a platformer thing with all the levels, and then they're hitting I love that you just said that it was Smash Brothers, because now it makes sense that Donkey Kong in their battle is kicking the crap out of Mario. Mm-hmm. And
he does a lot of iconic Donkey Kong moves from the game.
I know, now it's all clicking. I'm so stupid.
And the camera did a good job of, because if you think about it, especially if it's two-player, when you're close together in two-player mode on Super Smash Bros., the camera zooms in, and it's like right up on you guys. And when you guys split up, the camera zooms out, and you see the whole stage or parts of it, right? Yeah. And they did that a lot with them.
Donkey Kong is defeated by Mario. I also love that you have it Super Smash Brothers, because sometimes you can be like, I'm killing this person in Super Smash Brothers and they are not dying. And then someone else can come in and get a couple of hits and they defeat you. And that is exactly what happened. Because I was going to say it was a little bit one-sided for 3/4, and then Mario finally turned it on in that last little bit, and he ended up winning. That's kind of stupid. But if you're talking about Super Smash Brothers, maybe it's a little bit more plausible. I wish they would have, maybe I'm just stupid. I wish they would have had some sort of percentage thing or some sort of like scoreboard in the arena. I can remember now their chanting that they did. That's absolutely Super Smash Brothers, because you chant whoever's winning in the moment. So they get the army, they're going, they have a plan. They're going to take the Rainbow Road to be a shortcut. Then we've got Rainbow Road Mario Kart scene. And I heard people say that they didn't like this very much. I loved it. I was invested. I'd rather watch this than The Fast and the Furious.
Yeah. It was more realistic than the Fast and the Furious.
I know way more about Mario Karts than I do about regular cars.
Yeah, it was, to me, it was more realistic than the Fast and Furious commercial we saw before the movie started.
Yes, absolutely.
It's,
road and everything.
yes.
Being in space or wherever.
They did a good job. And I found out, because I was trying to remember the name of the original Donkey Kong game, and it's just Donkey Kong, so I feel really stupid that I had to look it up. But I found out that Funky Kong is actually in the movie, and he's an Easter egg for a split second during the Rainbow Road scene. He's the Kong with the huge, those darks I have for work, those big ones you hate. Yeah, he's wearing those, and he's got.
He was in the junkyard too. Not the junkyard, but in the montage when they're building their cars and Thunderstruck plays. I thought he was in that.
Maybe it was him. I don't know.
I thought he was like a mechanic.
Maybe I don't think that was him.
Maybe not.
But I thought it was pretty cool that they had him in there.
Yeah. So we skipped over the mechanic shop part.
Oh, yeah.
I loved how Mario had the classic Mario Kart car, the very low riding like go-kart car.
Yeah.
You had Peach on her motorcycle.
I like how Toad was a huge monster.
Yes, when Toad pops up, the Mario Kart section doesn't seem so thrown in like crazy. Oh, now we're in cars. I like that they were building their car, because that's what you do when you start Mario Kart.
Yeah, and they did a good job in the movie too, because like you said, when you first show up to the Kong land, you guys they get in a cart to begin with, and so
Donkey Kong's own the carts.
Yeah, they established that the Kongs have built the carts, so it kind of makes you think, oh, well then they invented the racing.
Yes.
So they did a good job, anyways, of introducing the carts, so that when it came to building the carts, it made sense of why they were at the Kongs to build the carts, and then that makes the whole Mario Kart section relevant.
You know what else we were missing in this? The guys that ride on the clouds that like have glasses and stuff and say like 3, 2, 1, go or whatever.
Yeah. Maybe they just didn't put that in there because the Mario Kart section was really great. It was really good. I enjoyed it a lot, but it was not like a Mario Kart section. Like in the beginning of the movie, you had your Mario Brothers platformer, right? Like you said, with Mario jumping over the fence and stuff, and then fighting Donkey Kong. You had the Smash Bros element to it, which they did well. But there was no way to really formally introduce a Mario Kart. They're not going to line up and have some guy say 3, 2, 1 there, let's go. Unless they were like, hey, first one to Bowser's Lane.
No, I'm not saying that I needed it. I think they could have been somewhere, just flying around.
Well, they definitely could have been, because now that I'm thinking about it, they're not just the starter guys.
No, they also pick you up when you fall off the map. Like they grab you and they put you back on.
And they also throw stuff at you in later levels and stuff.
Oh, do they?
Yeah, you got a guy that flies back and he's throwing stuff at you.
Oh, when you're playing the single player mode and you're trying to beat levels.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So another thing that we missed that was a really, really awesome part of the movie, because I like the slow parts. I like the parts that we're just seeing the world and it's nostalgia bait. And I normally hate nostalgia bait in movies. But when they're traveling across to get to the Donkey Kong jungle, they travel over different worlds. And they had the desert and they had the Yoshi world. And they had like some sort of rock wall that they had to climb up. I liked all of those worlds. To me, the desert one stood out the most, because I remember thinking, I wish they had the big vertical caterpillars there, or like a tornado or a twister in the background. It was kind of just barren.
Yeah.
I loved once we broke out into kind of a Mario and Donkey Kong versus Bowser clan, because now we've got the elements of everyone's using the powers on their carts. We've got the Donkey Kongs shooting bananas, and they're throwing dead Koopas at you.
Yeah.
Loved all of that.
Yeah, I did too. Honestly though.
Oh, and Mario road jumped. That was great.
Yeah, they did a good job with that. My favorite part.
Don't do that in the game. You're never gonna make it.
My favorite part in that part of the movie was the end of it with the blue shell.
Yeah, that was great.
They did a great job of having it.
I wish something else would have happened, because he just kind of screamed "blue shell" and he turned into a blue shell.
Yeah,
he was just kamikaze.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of what it is. He was just a blue turtle
Koopa?
guy. Yeah, so That's all they are.
I like how he kind of came out of the flames like Batman out of his car wreck from from the Batman.
Not done yet.
Blue shell, and he like just explodes them. I love how there was a little bit of stakes because Mario's cart gets wrecked and he has to jump onto Donkey Kong's cart, and Toad's car gets something falls off, or Toad falls off because something from Bowser's Castle like crashes into the road and breaks it in half.
This is the part of the movie you're gonna have to watch the movie multiple times because there's so much
going on.
I don't even know what you're talking about with Toad's car because I can't remember it. There was just so much going on.
He falls off the map, and then Peach has to dive off
and catch him
and him. Yeah, and she glides away.
Yeah, it's just hard to remember. There was so much going on in that scene.
And that was before the blue shell piece.
Yes.
Because the blue shell kills Donkey Kong and Mario's car.
Yeah.
And Peach and Toad are on her bike, and Mario and Donkey Kong are on his cart.
Yeah.
And then they continue on going, and Donkey Kong and Mario fall into the water.
Yes.
I liked the dialogue between Mario and Donkey Kong. I thought that it was not cheesy. I liked how it was a little bit different from your just run-of-the-mill Shrek and Donkey dialogue.
Yeah.
It was really... I liked how he, like, when Mario saves Donkey Kong and Mario says, "I won't tell anybody," and Donkey Kong's like, "Good, like, don't, because I don't want anyone to know."
Yeah.
I liked that.
Yeah, and then when they're having like the heart-to-heart in that fish's mouth, and he's like, your father doesn't look down on you, and Mario goes, "Well, mine does." And then it's silent for a second. You're thinking Donkey Kong's gonna be like, "Oh, sympathetic to this," and he just turns and goes, "Good, because you're a loser."
I know, I like that.
I was like, "Oh, that's great."
Yes. I understand that they needed to fall into the water so that there's stakes, and there's a reason why Peach is kind of, as a last resort, says yes to Bowser's proposal to her. Like, they needed to nerf the two strongest boys so that it could be just Toad and Peach against Bowser, because there's no reason why Peach would not come up with some other plan besides saying yes if the army had succeeded, because everyone dies. Peach is alone. Her and Toad race off to the Mushroom Kingdom. Peach warns her entire kingdom to get lost because Bowser's coming. I'll defend the place, but we've lost. So I need everyone to evacuate, all my citizens. Bowser comes, and he is threatening, and, Peach is going to fight, but that's not going to do much. You're just about as good as the penguins here. So Bowser is torturing Toad with some sort of shocky thing from the wizard.
Yes, it was almost like the wizard was, like, compressing his body.
No, it was shocking because she touched it, and she said, "Ouch."
Yeah, that's
He was like getting electrocuted.
It's just the way he was like they drew him like kind of like compressed together.
I think it was because he's getting shocked. So it's
Yeah.
like, oh, fetal position, I'm getting shocked.
That makes sense.
Like when people get tased or whatever.
Yeah.
So she says, "Yes, I'll marry you, just don't hurt Toad." And I'm happy that ultimately she has another plan. She did not just say yes and now I'm going to be like go along with this. I like that she just, yep, I had a plan, and then Toad went away and got the blue flower, the ice flower. I understand why the story needed to nerf Donkey Kong and Mario, get them out of the way for a little bit. But there really was nothing happening with the fish eating them, and then they're sitting in the belly of the fish.
Yeah, I think.
And then they get out, and it's just, oh, we found a piece of the cart, and now we can fly anywhere. Unlimited gas, and perfect pattern to whatever we need it to do.
Yeah. It was a rocket, because in the beginning of the Mario Kart scene, and he launches one and hits a cart with it and destroys it, and he's only got one left.
Oh, okay.
So, but it was a rocket.
So it is a weapon.
It's a
I thought
weapon.
it was like a power, like to shoot his car more forward.
Yeah, no, it was a rocket. So I couldn't understand why it had so much fuel. But like you said, the rockets don't have navigation. They landed in the town, and then you had a very cool Donkey Kong and Mario.
I did like that. It wasn't
Yeah,
platform.
They had a platform section in there. When Donkey Kong went up top, Mario went down below, and they were taking guys out.
Oh yeah.
And it was super cool. And that's when Mario gets the leaf and turns into the raccoon.
That was my favorite part. That's my favorite power up. I always save the leaves. And if my person dies, if Mario dies while wearing a leaf, I'm turning off the game because I want my leaf back. If you lose a life, if you forget a star coin, if your favorite power up goes away, just turn off the game.
Oh, you need it. You can't get all the hidden stars or anything without the leaf.
Yep.
So you have to have it.
You have to have the raccoon guys.
Yep.
Raccoon suit is the best power up. Come at me. You can like twirl someone to death. You can like kick a Goomba with the tail to death. You can fly.
that
The team
mode.
up?
The team up, because they did a really good job of that team up platform. Like they did a fantastic job
To get up to the castle,
Yeah.
because they had to climb, like Donkey Kong had to climb the chain
Yes,
that was securing the ship, like anchoring it,
Yeah.
and then Mario had to use his little raccoon costume.
Yep, which is just in time. They get up there just in time for Peach to get knocked down because she was kicking some serious butt with the blue flower, and then I think one of the king Baams
Yes.
gets
The King Bomb.
his fuse gets lit and explodes, and it knocks Peach down. She loses her power.
Yep.
So it was just in time to get up there.
I did love that element of this movie, how if someone dies, it's okay because they're just losing their power, just like in the game.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, the Koopas, they just die. They're either turning into dry bones or turning into shells, and now you can throw them.
Yeah, but I did like that scene. It was before all this, when Bowser lights one of the Koopas up or whatever, when the shell guy's up, and he turns into a dry bone.
Can we pick out anyone else in the wedding ceremony that was an Easter egg? Because we obviously saw the, like, grandfather Baam and the King Boo, and there were others. I just can't think of them. That's where I was hoping that the Bark Bark would be.
Maybe it's just so King Baam and King Boo, they were gigantic compared to the rest of the characters at that wedding.
Oh, there was a little Easter egg when the bomb sat down and he hit a shell, and the shell went doo in the pew.
Yeah, and it was like bouncing off of him and back, and he drops it. I was hoping we'd get to see some of the other people from the Bowser family. I don't remember any other names, but
oh yes,
yeah, the other
like Gary and whoever else.
Larry,
yeah.
So I was
where were they? You didn't have anyone with a mohawk or blue hair.
Maybe they come to rescue Bowser from his little jar.
That would be excellent. Yeah. The Koopa Kid.
Koopa kids are Koopalings.
Koopalings?
Oh yeah.
Koopalings.
Yeah. Iggy, Larry, Lemmy, Ludwig, Morton Koopa, Roy Koopa, and Wendy O.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I can see them as like a squad, like maybe his like special team squad that comes to rescue him from being captured.
There is so much that you can do here.
Yeah.
With this universe.
Oh, there's so many characters, so many different stories. This is a beautiful thing about I love it, and I'm scared for it because the superhero genre is dying out, and they're doing a video game genre.
It doesn't have to be dying out. They are willingly having it die out.
I know, but they've done this before.
They are choosing death.
Yeah, I'm hoping that they don't do this with the video games. But the cool thing about doing these video game movies is that you have so many different stories. It's so free flowing. You can go in any direction. You have all this content to take from that you can use. It's not copying. It's borrowing, and it's honoring that lore and those characters if you do it right.
Universal is poised to have a couple of big empires on their hands. They've screwed up with Harry Potter. Thank God J.K. Rowling's stories and books sell themselves because Harry Potter world is excellent, but the last 3 movies were garbage, absolute garbage. No magic whatsoever, like in a feeling as someone that loves Harry Potter and has multiple wands and my own Hogwarts letter and all that stuff. What a letdown. But right now, Universal has the opportunity to do so much with Nintendo and Pokemon.
Yeah.
And if they do it right, they could have a huge successful rise and maybe eclipse Disney if they stay true to what people love about these franchises and don't try to make it its own generic, homogenized story by committee type of thing.
Absolutely. Just take the stories that have been put in the games and put them to the screen. Animated too. I understand, like, you have stuff that is like the Pikachu movies, Detective Pikachu. They did a good job of.
They did a great job.
Animation and human. They did a fantastic job. But don't do what Disney's been doing and taking all the animated stuff and making it live action, because all those are failing.
No, I would way rather have a Pikachu movie and it's just like an advanced version of the 90s cartoon.
Yep, absolutely. I'm enjoying these video game movies a lot. The Sonic.
The guy from Detective Pikachu was just in the Dungeons and Dragons game. That's where he's from. He was so familiar.
Oh,
That's the wizard from Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah, you're right.
I'm sorry, I interrupted you,
good catch.
but I had to say it, or else I knew you didn't think of it either.
No, I didn't. That's a very good catch. But no, I'm hoping that they do it when they make more of these movies, that they don't, like you said, homogenize it and make them boring. They can come up with, like I said, like a special.
And by homogenize, I mean try to copy everything else that's already been done. It's why DC is so failing, because they didn't do anything about what made DC Comics unique and different and special. They just said, hey, let's take these characters and copy whatever Disney did with Marvel and the Avengers. And it doesn't work. And that type of, we're just going to give you a generic superhero movie, and then everything else that is even close to being a superhero movie, like Mulan turned into a super movie, and like like I don't know, it just, everything seems the same. Everyone's got a power, and that's what I mean by homogenization.
Yeah, just stay true to the characters. They're written for you.
Yeah.
You don't have to change you don't even have to make a single thing up about them. They are written for you. Their characteristics are written for you. Their identities are already made for you. They've been made for years. Use them. You bought the rights to them, or you have a deal with the creator. They're letting you use them. Don't destroy the characters.
Disney princess movies are also becoming superhero movies. Like, there's no separation. I hate all of it. I hate it so much.
So, after the big fight scene at the wedding ceremony, right, Bowser has broken his head out of the ice and shouts to annihilate the Mushroom Kingdom and sends one of the missile guys to destroy the kingdom, and Mario has to stop him. And I like how they did it where he flicks it in the eye and it closes its eye just like it does in the movie or in the game. I keep flipping him because it feels like a game at the same time. So, and then he goes after Mario. Mario has a bright idea of going into, or tricking him to go into the pipe, which then like destroys this. It like destroys
There's big consequences. Barrier. It was a mistake.
Yeah, it destroyed the barrier between the Mushroom Kingdom and then basically the Nintendo world and the real world.
Yes.
And they all get sent back to Brooklyn.
Yes.
And I liked how during that huge fight scene, you see that even though Mario was brave and strong, or he at least acted like he was brave and strong, he has a moment in the scene where he's like hiding and he's scared and cowering because he got beat up so badly. He's like scared and he's feeling defeated and just brokenhearted. Mm-hmm. And his commercial comes on, and this is another thing I like is in this commercial it says that the Super Mario Bros. Are there to save Brooklyn, and in the beginning of this whole ordeal, Brooklyn is flooding and they go out to save Brooklyn.
Yep.
And now they're back to save Brooklyn from Bowser.
Yep.
I liked how he gets the courage after watching that because he's like, you're right, I need to save Brooklyn. He goes out there and fights Bowser, and then you see the growth of Luigi, who stands up and protects Mario for the first time with the sewer. It was great.
I actually think that Mario would have stayed there if he didn't hear his friends fighting Bowser. Mm-hmm. Because he doesn't actually move until his friends like jump in and run some interference between them.
Yeah, absolutely. They go in to protect him because Bowser's like.
And I think that to me that's like Mario's motivation is always external. It's mm-hmm. like, I am protecting my brother, or I am trying to like find my brother. It's and then you have Luigi, who he's so used to that and he has to make a change. Mm-hmm. I think that Mario probably would have just sat there, though. Yeah. Without his friends.
He was absolutely he looked defeated. He was bruised.
His eye wasn't opening, and I was like, oh, that's... we just watched The Passion of the Christ, and it reminded me of one of Jesus's eyes. The entire, passion is not opening properly, and because it's so swollen up. Yeah. And it just was funny because we watched that movie like 12 hours before we watched Super Mario Brothers, and so when his eye wasn't opening, it just flashed back to Jesus's, because it's the same eye that wasn't opening.
It was the right eye, yeah.
So,
and I don't blame him for not wanting to come out. I don't know if I would have came out.
No, I'm not saying that he should have, but I think that that's who Mario is he likes to save people. And that kind of goes with who Mario is in the games. He's saving Peach. He's trying to find the princess.
He's the hero. He doesn't care about himself. He cares about saving others. It's always been, like you said, protecting his brother, finding his brother, protecting Peach. Yeah. Finding Peach, protecting the Toad people.
But I like that Mario's always the brave guy, and you saw a moment where he wasn't being brave. Yeah. He was ready to give up. And then Luigi's always the scared guy, and he comes out of the garbage can and steps in to help his brother. Yep. And then they both work together, and they catch the star.
Yeah, and then the star that was a superhero moment, but it was a good superhero moment because it was from a power-up that only lasts for so long.
To me, the third act was actually not that great.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that I could have... It's the least memorable, least enjoyable part for me. Like, I do like exactly what you just said, the character growth moment. But for me, there wasn't a lot of payoff for the action. It didn't hit a nostalgia bone with me like a lot of the other action did. Maybe it's because I didn't play that particular game that it was supposed to be referencing. For me, I only use the star in Super Smash Brothers. It's a limited time power-up. Yeah. And... Super Smash Brothers, Super Mario Brothers, it's just like that. But there's never a time where you just like run through and get a bunch of people at once. So it just...
Well, no, but that was the thing, was that moment wasn't like a platform, right? Like Bowser had a military there. There was like 100 of those guys. They just had it. Because you're right, in the game, it's temporary and you run through a bunch of guys, but they're usually spaced out. Like you have a couple turtle shell guys that are like 4 spaces across or whatever, and you go and run through one, run through another, run through another. Like, you just run through them. That's all you have to do. And that's basically what they were doing. And it did last for a limited time. They were just lucky enough to defeat Bowser before it ran out. The whole time in my head, though, it was, why doesn't Bowser
Because you have
just
to
run?
wait. You have to wait for the music to end.
Which they did play during the...
They did?
Yeah, they played it during that. They did it in their orchestra... Or I can't say that word.
Orchestral.
Yeah, the orchestral way that they do things. But it was there. I heard it.
Did it like start out slow and then when it was about to end, it was like...
I don't know.
Because that's how you know it's getting to the end. You're like, it's really, really fast now. I'm going to run out.
But I did like how Bowser like kicked him and stuff, and it didn't affect him to kind of show you like with this power they are invincible, which is why it was so important, which is why Bowser wanted it so badly, and why.
The thing, I'm wondering, why didn't Bowser just use it?
I think because during that it showed his confidence. He was very overconfident and thought he was unbeatable.
Okay.
And so he was going to use it to conquer the world.
And I don't mind that they established that, but how are you using a limited time power up to conquer the world?
And that was my question when they used it to defeat Bowser. Why didn't Bowser just run until it ran out and then turn around and go, oh, now you guys are dead?
Yeah, so are we saying that Bowser did not understand what the star did?
It sounds like in the movie it is extremely rare.
Yeah.
And I don't think anybody in that universe understands how it works. They may not even understood that it ran out.
Did Mario know that it was a power up? Because they grabbed it so confidently. Luigi probably had no clue. He just woke up in this world and he went from Brooklyn to Scary Forest to a cage and then back out into the real world and hid in a garbage can. Well, Luigi didn't know anything.
I think Mario knew it was a power up because Peach kind of told him like the star, you need to take it. But at the same time, all the power ups have a face. The blue and red flower have a face. The leaf have a face.
Yes.
The mushroom.
How did Mario and Luigi know that this power up was going to make them invincible? Because they kind of stand there and just take Bowser's like step smash without even moving, and they're just standing there like heroically smiling, like triumphant.
Yeah.
Why weren't they wincing a little bit? Because they didn't know that they were invincible.
Maybe it was just a feeling.
I wish someone would have just said the power up is invincibility.
Yeah.
Or something.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's the same thing with like the leaf, right? Like he put in the leaf and started flying, but it was kind of like a reckless flying. He didn't understand.
I'm being too critical.
I think so.
I know. I like that Bowser used fire there. Wish he used a little bit more fire when he was fighting different people. Like, if he wanted to kill Mario, I know he said something about, like, I want to make you suffer, like you made me suffer. But it was a little cliche villainy when you don't use your greatest asset when you're fighting the hero.
That is true. Maybe it's just because he can't move when he uses it. Because in the very opening scene when he's doing the fire at the castle, the Penguin Castle, he's not moving. Like, he's stanced in a very specific way.
No, you can't move when you have fire. No.
Yeah, and in the games you can't move. So maybe that's why he was... I think it was very well established that Mario was able to... Even without any power-ups, he's very athletic for how chubby he is.
I just maybe wish that we could have got a little bit more of a fair fight when they're fighting. Like, when you're in the game Super Mario Brothers, the villains or the bosses... they have to recover from whatever they do. The Koopalings or the Koopa Kids, they use their shell. You know, they fly back and forth on the ground. You have to jump over them, and then when they're back up, there's a little break in time where you can jump and attack them.
Because they're like dizzy or whatever.
Yes, yeah. They're recovering from that. I wish that maybe they utilized that type of recovery when you've got Bowser and maybe he blows fire and Mario dodges it, and now Bowser has to like recover from using the fire. He's vulnerable. Now Mario can hit him. I just wish it was a little bit more strategic. I think that's why it felt a little bit flat for me, or it was a weak scene for me because it was just kind of smash, 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 color jump, fight, hit, punch, and I couldn't really feel myself in that fight.
Yeah, I can understand that.
Okay, so then we have the end, open-ended. They wake up in their room and they're in the Nintendo world, though? Is that what we're supposed to believe?
Yeah, so it starts off, Mario wakes up in his room, and it's very much like a Brooklyn-style bedroom or apartment. And he wakes up, Luigi gives him a cup of coffee, and they're iconic Mario and Luigi cups. And they get ready for work, and they walk out, and they are in the Nintendo world now. So I think it's led to believe that they left Brooklyn to live in the Nintendo world.
Okay. What other threats are there besides Bowser in the Nintendo world?
Well, you have the Koopa Kids, right? Mm-hmm. You also have, what is his name? There's a big crocodile villain for the Kongs from the 64 game.
Overall thoughts?
It was very good, and I would watch it again. Definitely.
I would absolutely watch it again. I was smiling almost the whole time.
Yeah, it was entertaining. It was a great nostalgia trip. There's lots of Easter eggs. Like, it's rewatchable because of Easter eggs, but also because the story's so good. It's entertaining.
enjoyable for kids and families, which is what I always understood animated movies were supposed to be, like tolerable for adults and interesting for kids. That's why a lot of the humor lands here. Some of it isn't because it's children's humor. So I'm not going to dock the movie points for humor when I'm not the target demographic. I mean, I'm one of them, but I'm not they're not just trying to reach millennials right now. Overall, this movie was so good. Like I said, there were some things that I would change. There were a few things that bothered me, a couple of easy routes that I wish they would have just done something a little bit different with, but the pacing overall was great. The animation was really good. The music, the voice acting, the dialogue, the way that it was written, no unnecessary, really, not a lot of unnecessary stuff in here. We had growth. We had competent villain, a hero that earned his way. Wonderful.
Yeah, absolutely. You had multiple heroes that earned their way. I think I said it to you in the car, but like there were no side characters in this at all. It really felt like the side characters were like the civilians, like the Toad people.
Yeah,
but as
there
for
weren't any NPCs.
Yeah, but as for Toad and Princess Peach and Mario, Luigi, and all of them,
Because even Donkey Kong got a ending of, "Oh, my dad said I'm proud of you."
yeah, and I think that's really important because in a world like this, in a movie like this, where you're borrowing from such a iconic thing, they're iconic characters. So to make just any of them a side character, it would kind of be like dishonoring the character itself. So it really shows that you care about these characters and their development.
And maybe that's why they didn't include some of the other stuff.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe they want King Boo to be the next villain. Oh, I asked who else could be the bad guy. Boo could be a bad guy.
No, yeah, and maybe that's so. I mean, like they had like 7 or 8 main characters. If they would have added like Waluigi and Wario and stuff, it would have just been way too much. So maybe that was part of the reason why.
Yeah. All right. Excellent.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening.
Bye.